Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. This one's a special one because it is the final video in a 3-part series on deconstruction. Before we jump into the video, I wanted to take a minute to thank you all for your patience because my computer just took a big dump on itself and stopped working. So for the last couple weeks I've been trying to get a new computer, set it all up, get it going, and here we are. So I wasn't posting because I didn't really have the means to, but I'm excited because I've had this written for several days and I've been ready to get it going and get it out there for everyone to enjoy and also to just get it off my plate. I've got a really exciting video coming where I interviewed a man named Tim. And if you're one of my patrons, you probably saw my post about this. I've been gearing up to interview Tim for a while now, and we finally were able to match our schedules and get going. Obviously, the computer thing had a lot to do with that being stalled as well, but we have it recorded, it's in the editing bay, and I'm really excited to get that out next. But I wanted to get this last episode on deconstruction out before I got that one, because we're sort of on a track here, and I wanted to keep that momentum going. And I'll talk a little bit more about that interview at the end of this video. But I'm stoked that it's happening. It's a little bit of a different style, but I'm excited to see what you all think. And one more thing, I did something kind of bad. I bought a Monster Energy drink. There was a video that made its way around online of a woman explaining why Monster Energy drink is the devil's drink. Or maybe it's the drink of the Antichrist, or maybe it's both. Either way, it has some sort of satanic connections.
So you go into Hebrew. The letter Vav is also the number 6. Short top, long tail. Short top, long tail. You could have here in Hebrew 666 on the can.
And if you've seen the video, then you know it's actually kind of impressive, the connections that she makes. So I thought for our last video, I might buy the devil's drink and enjoy it while I record. I don't really drink drinks like this anymore, so I'm a little bit nervous to see. I used to really like Monster Energy back when I was in high school. It's a very middle school, high school kind of drink. But I got one that looked kind of pretty, and it smells pretty good too. It's watermelon. 0 sugar. You gotta watch those calories. 10 calories, 0 grams of sugar. What's it got though? Erythritol to sweeten it up. Bunch of other things that I normally wouldn't ingest, but oh, there it is, sucralose, the fake sugar. So it's not 0 sugar, it's fake sugar. Either way, bottoms up. Oh, God. Maybe. Take one more sip. Oh, yeah. It's heavy on the fake watermelon up front, and then it has that sort of classic Monster Energy drink flavor at the end, which I always did like, even though it sort of just tasted like vitamins. So we've got our drinks, we've got our preamble done, so it's time for episode 3. Our story today comes from another submission by Deconstructing Engineer on Instagram, so thank you once again to Deconstructing Engineer for all your support of the channel and all of your sending of the things because it's helpful. The story is called Why We Should Not Redeem Deconstruction by Alisa Childers. And for any of you 80s and 90s Christian kids, you might remember Alisa Childers from the band ZOEGirl. I had this album, and I didn't really listen to it that much, I don't think, but it was enough for me to remember the name, and to remember ZOEGirl, and to remember the title, and to remember the cover of the album, and to remember the chorus of their most popular song, word for word. I'm gonna mess with the audio here so we don't get copyright struck, but listen to this bop. that's fun. And of course, just like with the other videos, we're gonna go through this whole post and talk about what's going on here. Some liquid courage. Ugh. And let's begin. Many years ago, my Christian beliefs were challenged intellectually by a progressive Christian pastor. It threw me into deconstruction that took several years to fully come out of. I found out later that he himself had already deconstructed and had hoped to propel his congregation into deconstruction so he could convert them to progressive Christianity. He was very good at it. In fact, he was almost totally successful. A few of us came back around to a historically Christian understanding of the gospel, but most did not. Bum bum. Because of this, when deconstruction stories started popping up in my social media newsfeed, along with hashtags like #exvangelical and #deconstruction, I paid attention. I've been following along, seeking to understand what people mean by those words. I witnessed a hashtag turn into a movement. Bum bum. So this story is really interesting to me because this sounds like a traumatic event to have experienced. Imagine you know and trust this pastor for however many years and you suddenly realize he was using his power to manipulate your thoughts and your emotions to get to a specific end goal. Sound familiar? Oh yeah, that's what pastors do almost every single Sunday. But this time, the story was tweaked a little bit. Instead of convincing people to become more devout Christians and to give their money to keep supporting the church, this guy was trying to make them more progressive Christians. His own deconstruction took him down a more progressive path, and he wanted to bring people along with him instead of losing his more traditional congregation and starting over somewhere else. Now, to be clear, although this pastor was supposedly leading people into a deconstructionist process, I think that this was a shitty way to do it if this story is actually true. This is obviously one side of the story, and we can't really know the full one unless we were there, or know people involved, or have talked to people involved. If it's true that this pastor sneakily put material into his sermons that were designed to shake up their previously held social agreement without telling anybody, that's pretty shitty. If he switched up his beliefs in some way, he should have just been straightforward with his congregation and let them decide what they wanted to do from there. They were coming there under the impression that he was a certain kind of Christian, and that's what they were looking for. I think it's okay to challenge people from the pulpit in general, because there also has to be room for the pastor to grow. But it sounds like he had some fundamental things change about his religious stance, and if that's true, he would have known it would be a problem for some of the people there. I don't know if any of you have ever seen or have personal experience with hyper-zealous religious people, especially Christians here in the US who don't take kindly to certain progressive viewpoints, but they will throw the biggest tantrums to let you know they're not okay with things. When it comes to evangelicals, they take their doctrine very seriously. And anyone who gets in the way of that is aiding and abetting either Satan himself or the Antichrist. Oh, you haven't seen those kind of people? Well, count yourself amongst the lucky and say your heathen prayers, because they're now slowly trying to make their way into your local governments as Secretary of State and other positions to make sure good prospers over evil in your upcoming elections. Which, by the way, fucking vote, people. I know politics are dumb and it's impossible to keep up with everything, and politicians are liars, and the world's only a matter of years away from ending, so what's the point? But come on, people. Grow up. Be in the present and do something. Do something to help your local and larger communities. Vote. Vote. Midterms are coming up and they are so important. Even more important than the presidential elections in many ways. I'll be the first to say that we have a really fucked up two-party system that needs to be dismantled and reworked, and although Democrats and Republicans have differing domestic policies, their international policies are basically identical. And that's fucked up too. I get it. It sucks. It needs work. And the only way it's gonna change is if people like you and me get involved. So stop hemming and hawing and please be a part of the solution. It'll only get worse if people keep checking out. If you're progressive or liberal or leftist, we generally have the majority in this country. And although we have outdated systems like gerrymandering, filibustering, the Electoral College, and the whole fucking Senate, we can shift policy if we just went out and voted. We've seen it in places like Georgia because of the amazing work of people like Stacey Abrams and others. We've seen it in getting Trump out of office and getting majority in the Senate, although that has not really panned out like most would hope, and we can see it again now. but it requires getting out to the polls and voting. There have been a lot of measures put in place to stop minorities from voting, and it can be extremely difficult to get to a physical poll location if you can't take the time off of work or don't have the transportation means to get there. And for those people, I totally understand. That's part of what we need to fix, and part of what we will fix if we can move a little bit further away from the iron grip that the political minority of the right has on this country. We need to all work together to get people into office who will work together and get shit done. Is it perfect? No. Will it ever be perfect? No. Should we try anyway? Absolutely. Should we still take care of people in communities and better this country and our neighborhoods? You better fucking believe it. So again, if you are able, please go vote. It may feel hopeless, but it does not have to be. Okay, that's my soapbox. Back to the story. So yeah, Christians can be uptight about things they disagree with because they think they have the moral high ground. So if this pastor changed his mind on some key issues he knew the congregation wouldn't agree with, he should have said something. I don't care so much what his desired outcome or intention was. Emotionally manipulating people in a position of power and from a position of trust without being honest about what you're doing is not okay. Oh, monster. Commercials are a kind of manipulation that can be okay. The company wants consumers to purchase their product, so they create a creative, funny, informational, or entertaining commercial that's meant to convince us to buy said product. We as the consumer know going into a commercial that the company wants us to buy. We're not blinded by a reassurance that the company has our best interest at heart. That may be a part of the ethos of some companies, but even that can be used as a tactic to get people interested in your product. In the end, as long as the commercial isn't lying, misleading, or promising something it can't deliver, it's okay because we get to decide if we want to buy the product or not, and we understand the transaction that's happening. We've all socially agreed to this form of propaganda and manipulation, and we pay advertisers billions and billions of dollars to keep doing that. A pastor, however, exists a little more in the gray zone. Pastors are not just commercials for God with one purpose. They are complex individuals on a human journey of their own, but they've taken on the responsibility of being a leader in their religion. As a leader, they're expected to spiritually feed their followers in a way that everyone has generally agreed is the way they want to be spiritually fed. When the pastor leaves the bounds of that agreement without adjusting the expectations of everyone involved, you end up with hurtful and even sometimes abusive situations. So I don't blame Alisa here for being hurt by her experience. In fact, I think she's justified in being hurt. If she thought one thing was happening and it turns out her pastor had another agenda in mind, I can see how it would feel like you had been lied to and misled. Again, we don't know his side of the story, but for simplicity's sake and for this video, let's stick with her story. Because of this experience though, it sounds like she has a jaded and misguided view of what deconstruction is. So let's find out what she has to say. As of today, there are 293,026 posts on Instagram utilizing the hashtag deconstruction. The vast majority are from people who've deconverted from Christianity, become progressive Christians, embraced same-sex marriage and relationships, rejected core historic doctrines of the faith, or are on a mission to crush the white Christian patriarchy. Hell yeah. Bring it down, baby. There are a few photos of deconstructed clothing, apparently this is a thing, and a scant few sneaky posts from evangelicals attempting, mostly unsuccessfully, to convince the deconstructors that Jesus is the way. A plethora of insults, mockery, and anger are hurled at the church, along with memes stating, quote, "I regret saving myself for marriage," and "Good morning, it's a great day to leave your non-affirming church," end quote. She's saying these as if they're shocking, but I would read both of these posts. People are processing shit, lady. Your religion is pretty fucking harmful, and all of us are living in existential dread because of either 1, our religious trauma, or 2, the current state of the world, or C, a combination of both. So let people live. And if people don't want to practice your kind of Christianity, oh well, maybe it's time to let the old way die, Alisa. I know you think Jesus is coming back, but I'm gonna let you in on a little secret here. He's not coming back. He's gone. Whether he simply died or actually was God, he dipped, and he's not returning. So, maybe start living your life as if it's happening now, instead of pretending like it's all leading to some mythical point in the future. Just a suggestion, just throwing it out there for you. Online, there are countless deconstruction therapy and counseling sites which will facilitate your deconstruction and reconstruct you with mindfulness or the contemplative practices of progressive Christian favorites like Richard Rohr. There are conferences you can attend, one for which I personally paid good money, for research purposes, to be taught how to break free from toxic religion, reject Christian dogma, and learned to embrace what basically added up to warmed over Buddhism. Phil Drysdale, a deconstructed Christian and deconstruction researcher, asked people on Instagram to name the accounts that have helped them through their deconstructions. A quick scroll reveals that the leaders and guides the vast majority are looking to are accounts and people like Lisa Gungor, Audrey Assad, God is Grey, Jesus Unfollower, Your Favorite Heretics, Joe Lumen, The Naked Pastor, and a plethora of others dedicated to providing a space for Christians to examine, reinterpret, and even abandon their beliefs. None of these accounts encourage Christians to look to Scripture as the authority for truth. Bum bum. Why are you saying that as if it's some kind of surprise? Of course we don't. Of course we don't point to Scripture as the authoritative truth. We no longer believe in the Bible as an authoritative truth. And for good fucking reason. There's no way to verify the sources, authors, or claims made in the book. Most of it is hearsay at best, and stories of hearsay at worst. It's a pretty self-deprecating religion that has extremely negative effects on one's mental and emotional health. And there are some downright vile and immoral shit that your God has done, or has given permission to do, that you can't really make excuses for. So no, I'm not gonna point to the Bible as any kind of authority on truth or morality. In my book, which chronicles my own deconstruction journey, I define deconstruction this way. In the context of faith, deconstruction is the process of systematically dissecting and often rejecting the beliefs you grew up with. Sometimes the Christian will deconstruct all the way into atheism. Some remain there, but others experience a reconstruction. But the type of faith they end up embracing almost never resembles the Christianity they formerly knew. I would add that it rarely retains any vestiges of actual Christianity. So here again, just like in our other two episodes, we have a horrible definition of deconstruction. Every single one of the people we've covered during this series has made the mistake of assuming that rejecting Christian principles or your faith altogether is a part of deconstruction. I will remind you, it is not. That's something that comes after deconstruction. I will say, however, that Alisa has the best definition of the three, because she leaves room for different outcomes. John and What's-His-Face from episode 2 basically just saw deconstruction as a way to leave Christianity. Alisa recognizes that that doesn't happen to everyone. I will also say that a part of the philosophy of deconstruction is rejection in a sense. It's a reimagining of the current understanding of a topic by placing it in its subjective context, which to some may be considered a kind of rejection. So I can understand why she would use this word, but I think dissecting is a much more accurate reflection of what's truly going on. Someone who is deconstructing would reject the beliefs they grew up with, not in the sense that they would just say fuck it and indiscriminately throw it all out, but more in the sense that they would question those beliefs by analyzing the context in which they acquired those beliefs. I would argue that it's healthier for one's Christianity to look different over time. This would reflect some of the growth that the person has gone through in their time being alive. Evangelical and legalistic Christianity makes it hard to grow as an individual, because, as we can see reflected in Alisa's post here, there is an understanding that God's word and law are timeless, and that they don't deserve to be questioned and broken down, or at the very least, changed. Can you imagine being in a company where nothing changes over the course of 2,000 years? The leadership doesn't adapt to cultural changes, the mission statement doesn't adjust with time, the business model doesn't ever get questioned because it's assumed to be the one and only best model to business around? No. It wouldn't last. It would become outdated and stale. To be fair, and also to point out something that the church doesn't really like to recognize all that often, the church has changed over time. It has become more progressive, more accepting, and even more liberal in some aspects. Even the most hardcore Christians now allow women to wear pants. That's new. So we see changes in growth over time, which is natural, normal, and healthy. So Alisa's appeal to this nostalgic traditional way of being, while assuming she understands what the correct and real version of Christianity is unhelpful. And kinda dumb. Over the past year or so, it has become common for Christian leaders to refer to deconstruction as something potentially positive. I get it. When I first heard that take, I thought, that could work. Just deconstruct the false beliefs and line up what you believe with Scripture. I was operating from the foundational belief that objective truth exists and can be known. But as I continued to study the movement, this understanding of deconstruction became untenable. That's because the way the word is most often used in the deconstruction movement has little to do with objective truth, and everything to do with tearing down whatever doctrine someone believes is morally wrong. Take, for example, Melissa Stewart, a former Christian, now agnostic atheist, with a TikTok following of more more than 200,000. She describes how lonely and isolated she felt during her own deconstruction, and how discovering the evangelical hashtag opened up a whole new world of voices who related to what she was going through. Her TikTok platform now gives her the opportunity to create that type of space for others. In an interview on the Evangelical podcast, she commented on the deconstruction/evangelical online space. My biggest experiences with it were people talking about what they went through, their stories, and it was very personal, and it focused on the human beings who have come out of this, rather than on whether a certain kind of theology is right or wrong. So first of all, no. You were close, but no. You're somewhat correct in saying deconstruction has nothing to do with objective truth, because it doesn't claim to help one achieve or understand objective truth. But it also has nothing to do with making moral arguments for anything. Perhaps there's a little section of deconstructionism that has to do with defining morality in some way, but I'm not aware of it, and I also don't think so. Deconstructionism has everything to do with subjective truths. Again, it does tear down beliefs, ideas, and principles due to the nature of what it means to deconstruct, but it's not with the injured tone you're using here. From my experience studying this movement, I think she hits the nail on the head. Deconstruction is not about getting your theology right. The word itself is built upon postmodernism and carries the baggage of moral relativism. For example, if your church says a woman can't be a pastor, the virtuous thing to do would be to leave that church and deconstruct out of that toxic and oppressive doctrine. Yes. Deconstructionists may even say they are simply rejecting cultural beliefs that have become entangled with Christianity. But these cultural beliefs often include doctrines like penal substitutionary atonement and biblical marriage. But deconstructionists do not regard Scripture as being the final authority for morality and theology. They appeal primarily to science, culture, psychology, sociology, and history. Again, of course we don't rely on the Bible. That wouldn't be deconstructionism anymore. It would be Christianity with a dash of skepticism and a cup of not being willing to be uncomfortable. I'm understanding more as we go into these posts about deconstruction, how much they just don't get it. You can't rely on anything as true without some line of questioning and still call it deconstruction. That defeats the whole purpose. It doesn't work that way. And to her point about deconstructionists appealing to science, culture, psychology, sociology, and history, you're partially right again, but still mostly wrong. These topics are not exempt from the process of deconstruction. The difference between those topics and Christianity or the Bible is that there are evidence-based conclusions we can draw from those fields of expertise. There are Bible experts, sure, but there are no evidence-based conclusions regarding religious Christian tenets that one can do any kind of digging into. I'll say too that it's worth questioning even what experts have to say about a subject. How was the study done? Why was it done that way? Were there biases involved? Is there a cultural difference in the way the researcher approached the study that ruined the study in some way? What are their qualifications? What merit do those qualifications hold, and why? Why do I believe things based on evidence? Why do I believe things without any evidence? And so on and so forth. All of it can be deconstructed. There is no such thing as objective truth when deconstructing, nor should there be. So of course you're no longer deconstructing if you hold on to an objective truth without breaking it down. I don't know why they're acting so surprised, like, oh, these deconstructionists aren't blindly following the Bible like I do, so they're obviously sinners and wrong. I can't believe that they would just ask questions without the certainty of objective truth that can't be verified, and that I only believe because of my subjective experiences, and not because anyone can actually ever prove objective truth. How dare they rely on anything other than false hope and delusion to carry them through life? I don't like being uncomfortable or uncertain of the future or reality, so I can't understand why anyone else would put themselves in that position. I just love having all the answers spoon-fed to me so that I don't have to worry about it anymore. Or about other people. I can just write off anything that doesn't align with this one very specific way of being. And I get to feel secure and better than everyone else forever because I have the one and only truth. It's simpler this way. Huzzah for me! So, like I said, I'm really starting to get why Alisa, John, and What's-His-Face from episode 2 are having a hard time with deconstruction. My guess is Alisa, or maybe all three, got to a point in her deconstruction where she knew she would have to question God and the Bible and objective truth, but was too uncomfortable to go there and decided to stop the whole process and speak out against it instead, and return to the simpler life of holding on to objective truth. It doesn't fit into the perfect little mold of their world. It doesn't jive with their understanding of reality, and that confuses them. It makes them uncomfy. And of course they don't want to be uncomfy. Ugh. They just want their God to hold their hand and tell them,
everything's okay, Alisa. Shh, shh, shh. It's alright, don't listen to those meanie deconstructionists anymore and their neoliberal bullshit. You're right, and you'll always be right, and you're better than all of them. Nobody gets just how true your truth is. You have the truthiest truth out there. No one can see that you've got the ultimate objective truth right within your grasp. But don't worry, they'll all see one day. When I burn them all in hell!
Yay! Now, the narrative is evolving. I'm seeing more and more posts, including an article on this site, that portray Martin Luther and even Jesus himself as deconstructionists. Bum bum. This, in my view, is irresponsible. If deconstruction means nothing more than changing your mind or correcting bad ideas, then I can say I deconstructed by switching from AT&T to Verizon. No one, until about 5 minutes ago, would have referred to Luther or Jesus as people who deconstructed. Martin Luther was trying to reform the church to get back to scripture. Jesus is the Word made flesh. What the fuck does that mean? You can't just drop that in there without explaining. Alright, whatever. This is most certainly not what the deconstructionists are doing. In most cases, the Bible is the first thing to go. Okay, there's a lot wrong here. Deconstruction is neither changing your mind nor correcting bad ideas. Again, it's a process of questioning and contextualizing. That's fucking it, people! You may change your mind. You may not. You may find that you want to correct some ideas that you consider bad for yourself. You may not. That's not deconstruction. That's what happens after. This is why I'm only doing 3 episodes, because I feel like they all have the same bullshit to say, and it's mostly the same argument against it. They just all have it wrong. We've certainly seen many abuse scandals hit our news feeds. And there are very real people who carry the wounds, doubts, and trauma caused by those experiences. Many survivors are left with an injured faith and may wander online only to be met by a massive community of ex-evangelicals who triumph deconstruction and publicly shame anyone who speaks against it. This can feel like a safe place to process those hurts, but there's a specific end goal: to dismantle beliefs one subjectively thinks are oppressive or morally dubious, rather than conform our beliefs to scripture, even if those beliefs are counterintuitive. Even if those beliefs are counterintuitive. This right here, dude. This sucks. And this is part of what hurts so much when you're in the church and when you get out and look back on it. Not only are you told you're not a good person, and in fact you're automatically going to hell forever because you're not a good person, you're also encouraged to ignore yourself. You're taught your body, your needs, and your entire life and personality are not as important as God, God's will, and spreading Christianity. And if you do try to take care of yourself, you're told you're selfish. You're falling prey to a trap set by the devil and the evil world around us. Or that you're turning your back to truth. In a lot of Christian communities, there is a specific kind of sick adoration of and obsession with listening to God, even when it doesn't make sense. Even when it doesn't feel right. And since God doesn't speak to anyone directly, people are often left with God's conduits like pastors and other leaders in the church, which means they are now representing God's power. And when someone holds that much power over a person and only wants their money or decides they want something else from them, what do you think is going to happen when that person has been trained to not listen to their instincts, Alisa? When they've been trained to push out any sense of doubt or any kind of common sense? You think it's going to go well for that person? You think they're gonna know suddenly they're in a dangerous situation and how to get out of it? Or do you think that after years of grooming, self-denial, self-hatred, and listening to God, even when it's counterintuitive, is setting them up to be used and abused? I'll let you sit on that one, Alisa. Would love to hear back. As Christians, the process of evaluating our beliefs, traditions, and church culture in light of scripture and rejecting any unbiblical beliefs with the goal of living more authentically as Christians should be a daily reality. But this isn't deconstruction. It might rightly be called reformation or restoration or even healing. So yes, that's correct, Alisa. That's not deconstruction. But then it's also less useful and more just practicing your religion. Deconstruction has taken on a life of its own. And now is the time to accurately define our words. After all, if the word means everything, then it means nothing. Yet it carries the potential to suck unsuspecting Christians into a dangerous vortex of influences from which they might not return. Bum bum. What does that mean? If the word means everything, then it means nothing. Does deconstruction mean everything, so it means nothing? I don't know what she's talking about there. If any of you watching understand what she's trying to say, drop it in the comments. So, we've reached the end of the article, and indeed, the end of this series. We've learned a lot, I think. Mostly that uber Christians don't understand what deconstruction is, and that they would rather obviously prefer people not deconstruct, or at least remain a Christian while asking your pastor some vaguely spiritual questions and call that deconstruction. But I think that they're failing pretty miserably at this task. Each of the posts we reviewed were put out there to clarify things for people and help influence people away from deconstructing because, like we've said in each video, say it with me, deconstruction works. It doesn't work to get you out of Christianity. It works to break down beliefs, contextualize your life, and see the world from a different lens. However, this often does not bode well for Christianity because it can be such a heinous and ridiculous religion. But that's why we see people speaking out about it. It doesn't stand up to the test, so they try to make the test sound flawed in some way. And often what they've done is try to make it sound flawed by comparing it to the Bible and saying the Bible is objectively not flawed. But that is a circular argument, which is a logical fallacy, and it does not work to prove any points except for that you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. So what they ended up actually doing is exposing how much they don't understand or are confused by deconstruction, potentially muddying the waters of this conversation and making themselves look kind of dumb. As far as I could tell in my searching online, these posts did not receive a very warm welcome from the internet. And for good reason, I would say. They are disingenuous, misguided, and steeped in old Christian dogma that pushes people to deconstruction in the first place. So, Alisa, John, what's your face from episode 2? I'm failing you. You are flunked. Bum bum. You have not only not passed the vibe check, but your attempt at confusing people out of deconstruction has been found wanting. I hope you take my thoughts from this mini-series under consideration, and follow up when you have a better argument. Or any argument. If you never respond, I will take that as an admittance of defeat and your resignation from this conversation. And I will not attribute it to the fact that I'm a small YouTuber who would almost never pop up in your feeds. So, have at thee. Thank you so much for watching this video and for sticking around with me through the whole series. Like I mentioned in the beginning of this video, while this series was airing... Oh wait, I didn't mention this. I wrote that because I was planning on mentioning it, but then I didn't. So like I'm mentioning now at this part of the video, while this series was airing, we hit 500 subscribers on YouTube, which is just like amazing. I couldn't be more proud of the content I've put out and the community we've built here. So thank you so much to everybody who's subscribed and who's shared this and who's talked about it with their friends and who have posted things on their stories and on their social medias. It really means a lot to me and it really makes a difference. So thank you so much. I can't believe it's already been a year of me doing this, and the fact that we're already at 500 subscribers really means a lot to me and is really exciting. I don't know what I thought was gonna happen when I started YouTube, but I'm trying to just like put things out there that I want to put out there and like have not so many expectations. It's kind of impossible. I'm a human still. I still like have visions and goals and things, but I've really just been trying to have fun with this channel, and it's really awesome to see other people enjoying the content. So thank you again to everybody who has watched my videos, subscribed, liked, commented, shared, all of the things. Thank you. And if you did like this video, and indeed this whole mini-series, and if you want to see more like this, please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing. Again, all of the things, commenting, do it. You know, it's good, it's all good. And please also consider supporting me on Patreon. You'll find that link in the description box along with all my other social media links, so you can follow me there, support me on Patreon. It really means a lot to me and makes a difference in my ability to make these videos. Like I said, my computer shit itself. And getting a new computer is not always, well, is not really a cheap thing. I got very lucky with the whole setup that I found, but it still costs some money to like get a setup going and everything, so it really means a lot and it really helps out. I'm stoked to have made it this far in just a year of posting, and I'm super stoked to hit our next goal of 1,000 subscribers. And then maybe we could get like a brand deal with somebody cool like Adam and Eve or something. Adam and Eve, hit me up! Even though you're probably never gonna see this video. Hit me up! I will peddle the sex toys and the pleasure-based living. Absolutely. Like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, and this time I really did mention this, I have a really cool video coming where I interviewed Tim, who was behind the scenes in big churches as a creative director. And interestingly, he is still a Christian, but he has left the church because of what he saw in the leadership in the churches that he worked in and how things were run. He, just like many of us here, wants to see the organization of the church crumble. And although he has some different motivations and a different vision of the future of Christianity than I would guess most of us have, I had a really great time talking to him and think it's gonna be a really cool video to put out there. He's a really awesome guy, and we've even talked about meeting up in person sometime to like do something like go to a church and pick apart all the bullshit, because he was a creative director so he can see it all, and I dissect these things as a part of my YouTube life, so I see it all. And I think that would be really fun to see a Christian and an atheist go to church together and just shit on it. So to whet your appetite a little bit, I'm gonna put a little sneak peek in here. A trailer, if you will. So check it out.
My goal was to make it cool and to make it, again, appealing. We wanted people to drive by the church and look at it and go, yeah, that's cool, man. That looks like a venue, or that sounds like this or that. So pretty much we needed to be fake. We needed to fake it. We needed to be like, we're not actually any of this, but we know that the only way that people will come in is if we fake it. And so that was the thing. It's all a facade. It's all smoke and mirrors. I want to see it fall. I want to see the modern church. I want to see it fall apart.
I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you'll join me when I post it in my interview with Tim. So thanks again for tuning in. Thanks again for 500 subscribers, and I'll catch you in the next one. Salutations. Oh. Contains no fruit juice. Yeah, I can tell. Maybe Monster could be our first brand deal. I'll use this segment. I'll use this footage as the sponsor. Yummy! Monster! You can really taste the no watermelon. Oh, the zero sugar really hits your tongue in a formidable way. Oh, I might die because of drinking this. Maybe it really is the devil's drink. No, the devil would make something better than this. But the Antichrist, they might be onto something. Okay, bye.